Attack on Titan. Just by hearing the name, your mind immediately jumps to one of two extremes. Wow, I love that show, or wow, that show is so annoying. While opinions may differ in that regard, I think we can all agree on one thing. Attack on Titan's fandom is an absolute hellfire. Hello everyone, this is the RPG Monger and welcome to the Fandom Files, a new series I want to start on my channel where in every video we dive deep into all the wonders and horrors of certain fandoms. So with my experiences combined with the experiences of others, let us delve into the Attack on Titan fandom. Now out of all the anime to start with, why choose Attack on Titan? Why not start out with Hetalia, whose fandom was just as terrifying, if not more? And while I will get to that eventually, don't worry. The reason I chose the Attack on Titan fandom is because it has left an imprint on my life. An imprint that I'll be talking about very soon. So with the anime coming out in wait, seriously? It came out in 2013? My god, it's been a while. To say it sent a shock through the community would be an understatement. For many of the new generation of anime fans, this was their first anime, or at least the first anime to get them really invested. And I'm not ashamed to admit that I'm actually kind of in this category. While I had just started getting into anime a bit before Attack on Titan came out, once I watched it, well, I think you can guess the rest. But first, I'd like to open up with my initial experiences of the fandom, as when I entered it, the fandom could not have been more popular at the time. Weeaboos. Probably the most overused word in the entire community, with people rarely even knowing what they are. I will fully admit right now that in the time I was involved with the Attack on Titan fandom, I was one. And it wasn't only me. The Attack on Titan fandom was filled to the brim with real-life actual weeaboos, who in reality were just young new anime fans. Now, you'd think that they would eventually mature and the fandom would get better, right? Well, I guess I was just one of the lucky ones to get out, as the fandom still has a ton of them to this day. To leave the worst for last, let me start with experiences me and other people have had. Fujoshis. Yes, the fact that this is the lightest shit I've seen says a lot. While I did neglect talking about them in my last fandom-centric video, you bet I'm not gonna miss out on these people this time. For those who don't know, fujoshis are basically women or girls who absolutely obsess with ships of the gay variety. And I mean obsess. Don't get me wrong, there is nothing wrong with shipping characters here and there. Hell, even I have a few personal ships. But these people are completely different, believe me. Levi. Poor Levi. Out of all the characters from Attack on Titan, it seems you really did have it worst, with pretty much every single one of these people wanting you and Eren to, you know, use your 3D movement gear. And under normal circumstances, I would just turn a blind eye and let people have their fun. But more often than not, it was their enthusiasm that really made it all such a large problem. I remember being in contact with a person like this. Let's just call them Girahim. At the time, Girahim was already a bit of a strange one on their own, with them just being generally edgy. But eventually, over all else, one main topic began to arise throughout all their conversations: how much Eren and Levi should do the do. Eventually, I began to grow a bit tired of it, since even though it was never gonna happen in the story, they proclaimed to everyone that the creator himself confirmed it somehow. So one day, I basically reached my peak and asked them point blank to not talk about their obsession with that shit as much. And afterwards, as expected, World War III took place with tons of incoherent texts about how I was trash and that, and I quote, "Eriri is the only good ship out there." I had to search it up later, but I guess that's the abbreviation for the ship between Levi and Eren. Like, let me remind you that Eren and Levi are literally 15 years apart age-wise. Just let that sink in for a bit there. The worst part is that my experience was nowhere near the worst one too. There have been people who have actually assaulted others over them disagreeing with their ship. Needless to say, I cut off contact with that person a long time ago, and for a variety of reasons. Hopefully years later, they've finally come to their senses. Remember how I said that was the tamest crap I've witnessed in that fandom? Well, it's about to get a whole lot worse. So, in my recent video about fandoms, I proclaimed that the worst kind of person that will instantly ruin a fandom are the obsessive elitists, right? Well, I was wrong, because in reality, the worst kind of people are obsessive elitists that are also very, very young. Especially around its conception, Attack on Titan was chock full of people like this, and if you did not know of the absolute majesty that Attack on Titan apparently is, then get ready to have a show shoved down your throat faster than you can say, "I'll get to it eventually." Oh, and if you don't agree that Attack on Titan is the best anime ever, well, all I can say is find your nearest storm shelter, because a Category 5 Tumblr is about to destroy your life. But while those kinds of people are absolutely terrible, what I want to address is the kinds of things that have happened to people who were just innocently cosplaying the characters. So with the first of the two worst stories I've discovered, basically it all comes down to common sense that for the most part we all possess, except for these people. So there's 3 people who were cosplaying characters from Attack on Titan, right? Nothing wrong there. But then in come 3 interesting people, with one of them actually smothering the person cosplaying Armin. Off the bat, this is immediately a huge no-no for just about any social situation ever, but it gets worse. Before actually having to kick one of them in the shin to get them to stop assaulting them, these gremlins took tons of unauthorized pictures, touched and groped them in a variety of places, and just did a bunch of other horrible crap. It really is insane that just because some people were cosplaying as certain characters from Attack on Titan, in these people's twisted minds, that automatically equates to whatever their messed up sense of consent is. The other story is honestly just as bad, but it has less to do with the fandom, and more to do with people, once again, not respecting a cosplayer's personal space, so I'm actually not gonna go over that one. Though now, there is one thing this fandom contained that undoubtedly surpasses all else in terms of plain horribleness. And for you guys to even remotely understand, it may be best if I go right ahead and tell this main story. Ah, youth, a wondrous time for experiences that will shape your life forever, and this story is no exception. Like the fujoshis before, the main specimen of this story was also obsessed with a male character from Attack on Titan, albeit for different reasons. Instead of wanting to see him help out another strapping lad with his 3D movement gear, she wanted him all for herself, and that's putting it lightly. At first, it started out with some mildly innocent stuff, with him starting out as just her favorite in the show. But then, things took a turn for the worse when Armin started to become her entire life, with such displays as her talking about him all the time and how he totally loves her. Yes, Armin, the fictional character from an anime. This is real, ladies and gentlemen. Now, I think we've all had our fair share of delusions when we were younger. I had a pretty rough one myself, but at some point or another, we realize our idiocy and move on. This girl, on the other hand, only gets worse. She begins to proclaim that Armin is coming to live with her in her house, and goes into a fit of rage when anyone tries to talk any form of sense on the situation. So fast forward through more and more creepy delusional nonsense, and she begins to actually brag about all the many ways that Armin and her have, that's enough of the illusions. Basically, she bragged about all the weird sex she and Armin were having, and unfortunately, this story doesn't even have a happy ending, as these kinds of delusions are still going on, with not only this girl, but many others to this day. But I don't want this video series to be only about bashing a fandom. The Attack on Titan fandom has its good sides as well. Like, just a hugely popular example, the video Attack on Titan Abridged, I swear, when that video first came out, I probably watched it 50 or so times. Hell, I can even quote half of the thing to this day. That's not all either. Like many other large fandoms, Attack on Titan has spectacular fan art with no shortage of it in sight. Not to mention, while I will say that the fujoshis did take up a good bit of the fandom in the past, as of now, it has kind of subsided a bit, thankfully, though I've said it once and I'll say it again. Whether it's the Attack on Titan fandom or not, please don't let it ruin the show for you. I cannot count all the many times I've seen shows be ruined for people by such trivial things like fandoms. If anything, these Nightmare Beasts have set a fantastic example of what to never ever do in any sort of fandom. If only people would actually learn from that. But anyways, now I want to hear from you. What are your experiences with the Attack on Titan fandom? Good or bad? Let me hear them. Who knows, maybe I'll pick and read my favorite one next episode. And speaking of the next episode, before I go on to my outro, do tell me if you even liked the Fandom Files at all. I'd really want to know. However, now I want to hold a bit of a poll. For the next episode of the Fandom Files, which would you prefer me to delve into? Osomatsu-san or Hetalia? Leave your answers in the iCard poll and feel free to suggest other options in the comments as well. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more like it, do subscribe, and today's cool thing of the day is the Tatami Galaxy. While I just started the anime, I must say I have absolutely fallen in love with its art style and cannot wait to watch more of it. Though I must say, even for someone who has become quite experienced in the reading of subtitles, my god do characters talk fast in this one. So that being said, I am the RPG Monger, and don't forget that each and every one of you are fantastic.